Well, I'm a voice actor. I do a lot of work primarily with Crunchyroll in anime dubbing, but I also do some video game voiceover, couple of studios like Gearbox, for example, and then I also do like internet animation voiceover and things like that. So scattered throughout YouTube and places like Newgrounds and things like that. So
Ooh,
yeah, that's a little bit about me and my voiceover.
good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Movement Radio. I am Chip Hazard,
I'm Talon Williams.
and tonight we are joined by voice actor extraordinaire Ethan Gallardo. Ethan, how are you this evening?
Hi, how y'all doing? I'm doing great. I'm doing pretty good for a Monday.
Tell me about it.
It's case of the Mondays.
Oh, yes.
Uh, so for those who don't know, who is Ethan Gallardo?
Well, I'm a voice actor. I do a lot of work primarily with Crunchyroll in anime dubbing, but I also do some video game voiceover, couple of studios like Gearbox, for example, and then I also do like internet animation voiceover, and things like that. So scattered throughout YouTube and places like Newgrounds and things like that. So
Ooh,
yeah, that's a little bit about me and my voiceover.
Awesome.
that's
All right.
awesome.
So Chip asked the question, who are you? I'm going to ask the question, who were you before you became a voice actor? What sparked your interest to get involved in the world of voice acting?
For sure. Wow. Yeah, it's kind of been like a wild ride. But I've always been interested in acting and stuff like that. I think a lot of voice actors get their start in acting in some way, whether it be theater or improv or anything like that. But when I was in middle school, I was involved with my school's like improv group, and then we also did some theater shows. And I just like fell in love with acting, and I really wanted to continue to pursue it. Now it wasn't like my end all be all, like my dream kind of career or anything like that at the time. But I remember when I went to high school, I actually stepped away from schools that had kind of like a drama program or a music program to go to a school that was kind of like science and math based. And my first year there, I absolutely hated it because I had this like there was no creative outlet for me to kind of let loose. And that's when I realized how important being creative, at least a little bit, to balance things, was to me. So in high school, I returned to this like, the public school system where they offered these extracurriculars and things like that. And I got heavily involved in my theater program. I met some really cool students who were really passionate about like filmmaking, like short films, and I met this guy, a really good friend of mine named Christian Blake, and he was an aspiring director. And so we started doing like film races and film festivals, and we had this dream of doing, a feature length at some point. So the acting really sunk into me, that was something that I was passionate about, and I think I'm just kind of a creative person. But at that time, I was interested in pursuing animation. I wanted to become a like an animator. And some of my biggest inspirations at that time were a lot of stuff that was on, the, I guess like 2000s Cartoon Network or like Adult Swim type, cartoons that kind of really influenced me at that time. And, so I ended up going to college, the Texas A&M University for animation, or the degree is called visualization.
Okay.
Um, and so, yeah, I kind of went through my major doing all of this stuff. And the first couple of years were more traditional art. It was a lot of like pencil to paper type stuff. But once we started getting into more digital or more, the type of animation that I think I had in mind when I wanted to learn, we were really limited to using royalty-free music, royalty-free sound bites, and all this stuff. And myself just being like a creative problem solver type, I was watching my projects and my friends' projects kind of get made and filled with this kind of like weird audio that like doesn't it, you're working around something and it's not made for your particular thing. And I was like, why don't I just try to, offer, hey, you need a sound effect, you need a soundscape, you need it wasn't just voiceover. It was like, do you need music done? Do you need Foley or whatever? And I got really kind of interested in making sound. Um, and funnily enough, it was only available to the grad students, but they gave me a pass. There was a recording booth on the floor above ours where we did all of our projects. And so once I kind of figured it out, put it together, like I can do all this stuff, but like with my voice, And of course I knew it existed, but like once I started doing it, I really just couldn't stop. And so I started doing stuff for a lot of student projects, student films, and then that's when I discovered like newgrounds.com where,
Hmm.
independent animators are looking for people to collaborate and do all this kind of stuff. And so that's just kind of where I got um my start going into all of this stuff. But yeah, originally I wanted to do animation and I kind of just got really involved in a bunch of different things until it kind of just stuck.
Okay.
Yeah. So when did the switch kind of flip from um doing just animation to figuring out like, okay, my voice is really good for these characters. So where did that switch kind of flip for you?
Yeah, well, so I always will have like a passion for the art of animating and things like that, but it,
Of
it really
course.
did become one of those
Right.
things where like the more I learned about it and the more, especially computer animation, it is incredibly tedious. I mean, like you need teams of people to do that, like students in my program, I kind of thought you just go in and do it all, but you have like your modelers, you have your riggers, you have your shaders, you have your, this whole pipeline coming together. And it really just kind of like I was like, whoa, I don't know if this is what I had in mind because I was really passionate about 2D animation, and my
Yeah.
my school really focused on 3D. So I kind of found myself like the passion kind of shifting as that went along. I still do stuff like that freelance and I do graphic design freelance. And I mean, I have a job outside of that, a full-time job that is outside of voiceover entirely. And, I'm involved in music now and things like that. So I've always just kind of been like, whatever grabs my attention, that's what I'm going to kind of plant my feet into.
Yeah.
Because, I can pick something up and put it down. And as long as it interests me, it will kind of draw me in. But the more I did the voiceover stuff, it just really brings out that creative process. And as someone who, my start wasn't like my start in acting was in improv, it really got me kind of fired up to have, my friends just be like, all right, let's try this, or that now maybe let's try this, or, and I was just like, keep it coming, man. You're blowing my mind right now. I had no idea that this was like a real thing, So, um, and then like outside of that, I'm from a really small town in South Texas called Pharr. It's
Yeah.
yeah, Pharr. Um, and when I graduated, I moved back down for a little while, and I was like, I really don't, there's not really much here for me, like, because at this time I was still pursuing an animation job. I was like, there's no big studios, there's no places to really get work doing that. And so as I was applying for jobs or looking for places to do animation, um, I kind of just wanted to get out of this small town. And I was applying for anything and everything. And I ended up applying for a job. It was a job at a software company that at the time they had an internal gaming studio.
Ooh.
And I was like, well, what if I just got a job and then maybe I try to work my way up or work my way into where I want to be, something's better than nothing or sitting on my hands. So, I got a call from this recruiter who was like, you're in Far Texas? That's like on the tip of Texas, right? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you're willing to move to Dallas for this like contract job, And I was like, yeah, like I just want to go on an adventure or like I just want to see what's out there. And I had no idea that that would have opened doors for me at the time with like Funimation, that I was in that like that vicinity, so it was
Yeah.
kind of like a happy accident that I ended up here particularly. And here I am, like it's like 7 or 8 years later, have been
Mhm.
doing professional voice work with Crunchyroll for that long now. So it
Yeah.
just kind of happens that way.
Yeah. A lot of
That's
time. Go ahead, Chip.
I was just gonna say that's awesome how those little small details, like, you're really willing to move this far away from your hometown, just open up that door for the next stage of your career.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I
definitely.
was to say, yeah, it's like the little things that like, it's like, okay, I'm gonna move from my hometown to small, town on the edge of Texas, all the way to Dallas Fort Worth, and try to make something, and then boom, look where you are now. It's a
Yeah.
cool thing. Um, we mentioned like all the different things. Do you enjoy, because you had brought up like stuff you'd see on Adult Swim and stuff like that? Do you prefer more of the 2D style compared to the 3D style, or does it depend on the show that you watch?
Um, I want to say it depends on the show, but I know I heavily lean towards 2D style animation. It's just something about it that always has, I've always loved it. So,
Yeah.
um, even different styles, like a hand drawn or a frame to frame style show
Yeah.
is going to be different from like a tweened show, like like Archer or Metalocalypse or something like that. But it's still 2D, it still has its charm. It
Yeah.
depends on the show,
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just something that I've always admired. I grew up watching cartoons and like playing video games with my younger brother and
Mhm.
stuff like that. And that's been one really cool thing too, working with so many talented individuals or getting my start on Newgrounds, is that a lot of those people that I met like 10, 12 years ago have gone on to work these crazy, impressive industry jobs. I know people who are doing storyboards or directing on shows for like Hulu, or they have their own shows on Adult Swim, or they're doing all
Yeah.
kinds of things. And it's just crazy to think about how these like really talented, passionate people just kind of stuck to their guns. And, in the same vein that like I kind of just took a chance a long time ago, here I am now. So did they. And it's one of those like, it always inspires me to look back and see where they are now, and
Yeah.
that could be for anybody, as long as you
Right.
really just try to keep pushing forward, who knows what can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Newgrounds is one of those sites that I feel like was ahead of its time when it first came out, and it's now kind of been like surpassed because there's other things out there, but without Newgrounds, there's a lot of people who would not have been able to get their creativeness out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely, for sure. And even now we kind of see like a small resurgence, or like, I don't know if you want to call it like a renaissance or something, of like this new wave of influential animators or creators coming out of the same spaces, like like Friday Night Funkin' is a
Hmm.
really big game right
Yep.
now. And I think even the beta or one of the earlier versions of like Among Us came from Newgrounds, like things like that all have these like strange roots. And you're like,
Yeah.
wow, I had no idea. But yeah, it really does have a very impressive like collection of creatives that just kind of hang out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you talked about being a gamer growing up, obviously saying you're playing with your siblings and things of that nature. What was your weapon of choice when it came to console?
So, ooh, that's a tough one, man. So I mean, the one that we did play a lot was we played the GameCube. So we were Nintendo kids. We
Yeah.
did a lot of
Yes.
Nintendo for sure. I had the NES, I had the Super NES, I had the Game Boy Pocket, and then I think the toss up for me, or the N64, but the toss up for me was I loved my Game Boy Advance and I loved the GameCube. So I still think the Game Boy Advance has like some of my favorite like titles. Like I it's been a while for me, but at the time I was a real big like Metroidvania type. Like if it was Metroid, if it was Castlevania kind of games, I was like all over that. So Metroid
Yeah.
Fusion was like my jam at the time.
Right.
Um, Yeah, for sure. And then when it came to like GameCube, I was like obsessed with like Soul Calibur 2 and games like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for
It's like,
me those consoles, especially the GameCube, have like some crazy good memories for me.
yeah, it's great.
I
Yeah,
think the
but you're,
GameCube is probably one of the more underrated consoles
oh yeah.
that was ever produced.
Yeah, I think the best Mario Party game is on the GameCube. I mean, I personally think Mario Party 6 is the best Mario Party game, and
Okay.
it was on the GameCube, you know,
Yeah,
and because
yeah.
yeah, but that was a tradition in my household is that ever since 1997 when the first Mario Party came out, it was me, my sister, my dad, and my mom, God rest her soul. We would always sit down, and that was a daily thing. We would sit down and just play Mario Party with each
Yeah,
other,
yeah.
that was the
That's
thing,
awesome. It's like family
So
game night, but like
exactly, that's
yeah.
exactly what it was, which is the whole
Instead of
reason why I
Monopoly,
have
it's just Mario Party, right?
right.
Like
Both cause the same amount of arguments, so you're fine.
exactly.
I can't tell you how many times I've had a shoe thrown at me because I took a star. You have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's the reason why I have Donkey Kong sitting here because that was my mom's character that
Oh,
she used in
gotcha.
Mario Party. So now it's with me. So now I feel like she's with me all the time when I
That's
have this
awesome.
here. So, yeah, man,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Um, so when do you kind of get your first like voice acting gig? When does that start coming about? Is this during college, after college?
Yeah. So like I guess like professional type gig, like
No, 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 no. I mean, like anything. It could
okay,
be like a fan project, or whatnot. But just kind of that first,
definitely.
like where you got your toes in the water.
Yeah, yeah. That would have been during college. I would say like once I started making those connections with like people on Newgrounds, like the first time I saw like an animation like published on the website and I could like
Hmm.
click it and be like, that was me. Like that's cool. That's crazy.
Yeah,
And I don't remember what it was, but I had some screen name that, wasn't my name. It was just like some whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's still just like I was like, that's cool. That's me on the screen. That's wild. So I know, so Newgrounds they don't do it anymore, but they used to have, well, they still have the day. It's called Pico Day. It's basically Newgrounds' birthday.
hmm,
And every year they would have a meetup called Pico Day. And people would go to the Newgrounds office in Philadelphia and it would be just like a big creator meetup. And in those early years, that was a really important thing for me to go to, I think, just from the standpoint of like getting inspired by people, people sharing ideas and creations. Everybody would bring a sketchbook and people would draw on each other's sketchbooks and things like that. And you would just be like, wow, there's so many people who are kind of just like me, who just like they want to just be with people who are you know, creative and just let their ideas run wild and stuff like that. But meeting people at those events really helped me out as far as finding some of those like reoccurring connections or work that I was kind of doing voiceovers for some like YouTube channels and stuff like that. And some of those characters that I did like early on ended up being like reoccurring characters on channels like Flash Gets and like Sam Green and a couple of other channels out there leading up to me doing like Funimation work, which was really cool. Um, and even that was like kind of, I guess, kind of a happy accident at the same time because, like I said, so I took a job here at a software company, but those were contracted jobs. So once my contract was up, I kind of was like, all right, sink or swim. What am I going to do?
right.
And sometimes the company would be like, hey, we want to renew you for another 3 months or whatever. But it came a time where, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna get renewed. I got to start looking for something. And my roommate at the time, he was working at Funimation. We went to college together. We knew each other, but he was a graphic designer at Funimation. And he's like, hey, we kind of have a lot of work right now. Um, can you do some like graphic design stuff for us? We can contract you to do graphic design. And I was like, yeah, I could do that. So for 2 years there, I was working as a graphic designer for the Blu-ray and DVD menus, like you put the
Oh
disc
yeah,
in and
yeah.
all the graphics on the
Cool.
screen. I would like make and design all of those, for a few years. And that was kind of where, I wanted to just do my work and not really think too much about the voiceover side of stuff. But one day I just went up to one of the producers, Justin Cook,
Yeah.
who's
Yep.
also a voice actor. Yeah. And I wasn't trying to be pushy or anything. I was like, hey, Justin, I work here. I just work on that side of the door, graphic design. But I've done some acting, stuff like that. Like, how would I go about trying to, you know, submit something here, right? And he was like, "Well, do you have a demo?" And I said, yes, I do." And I did not. I did
Yep.
not. So that evening I wrote myself a script, and I had like a blue, what was it called? It was like a blue
The Blue
Spark.
Yeti.
It was a blue
Oh,
Spark microphone. So a little like a step up,
Ah,
I guess. Um and in my bedroom, I just recorded something. I like it was in my opinion, it wasn't bad. I was trying to make it as best as I could, but I was on a
yeah.
timer.
Right.
And
right.
so I cut it all together, and then like the next day I emailed it in, where I was told to. And then like that week, man, I think I had my first session. It was like it was just one of those things that just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just started to kind of, work my way up towards there, or from there. So it's just kind of crazy to think about. Like, every little thing is just like, do I want to take a chance? Like, I took the chance, and now let's see where we go from here, right? So it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's been kind
Right.
of crazy.
Right.
Uh, that first session, like how nervous were you for that first session at Funimation?
Yeah, I was like really, really nervous because like I know a lot of people come in being like, I'm a huge anime fan. I've wanted to be an anime voice actor ever since I was 4 years old. I've seen all the behind the scenes. I practice, all this stuff. And I was like, I mean, I'm a fan of anime, but like that's not where I started, right? Of being like, I'm going to be an anime voice actor.
Right.
So like I didn't even know the process, the beeps, or like, all right, this is what's going on, the script and the screen. And so I was just like, please don't mess this up, like I gotta try so hard. um and I think the first thing I did, I think it was for, man, it's fuzzy, it was either One Piece or Fairy Tale. I think it was Fairy Tale, and it was just like some background characters. It was
Right.
not high stress at all.
Yeah.
um but once I did it the first time, I was like, I can do this. Like once you figure out like, okay, all right, I got the technicals down. Now it's just, can I do the acting part, right? Like
Right.
so, and that worked out. So
Is that like a
Yeah.
rite of passage in the anime community? Everybody has to do a voice on Fairy Tale because it's like every voice actor that we've interviewed going back, I don't know, back until like January, all of them have worked on Fairy Tale. And I'm like,
wow.
is that a rite of passage? You know,
You know what? It might be. I know back then, like it's either Fairy Tale or One Piece,
or
like what
Fire Force, Fairy
everybody
Tale,
has
One Piece, or
touched.
Fire Force. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For a while, like not One Piece, Fairy Tale had like ended, right? But like I think this past season they're doing like a new season. It's back. So
Yeah.
now all these actors who didn't get a chance to touch Fairy Tale, it's like right there on the table. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Yeah. So
Uh,
go ahead, Chip.
go ahead, Talon.
I
Nope.
was gonna I was gonna ask him a bit of a serious discussion. Um, you've talked about like all the voice acting that you've done and things of that nature, and being an animator as well. Kind of leads me to this question, and we've asked other voice actors about this as well. The the advent of artificial intelligence, AI, in the animation, voice over industry, things of that nature. What is your honest opinion about the usage of AI in the industry?
Yeah. Um, I think it's like any piece of technology, like any tool, right? If you utilize it properly in a responsible way that is, to help alongside people, I think it could be really helpful. Like, I mean, I think an example, and you might have heard it before, is they used some AI training when it came to doing the comic book lines in the Spider-Verse films.
Hmm.
Yep.
Kind of like machine learning type things, and not saying, not having it hands off, be like, okay, make a movie. I think that's a useful tool to have, right? We even have some of that in like um After Effects, or like simulations, particle effects, simulations, things like that. In a sense, it's kind of similar. Um, but when it comes to voiceover, I think it really depends. And you know what? I don't know too much about like the actual, the legality behind it that goes, like, for example, like if a voice actor said, okay, I'll lend my voice to a company to be used as like an AI model, what does that contract look like? Like, are they protected within that company? Is their voice going to be used to train other models for other companies? Does that company have limited usage on that? Like, those are the things that, like, it scares me because I don't trust these big companies to be responsible with people's personhood. I don't know, like it's literally
Yeah.
like it's you. So when it comes to voiceover, I'm kind of like it's kind of a no-go for me in a lot of senses. And the same thing when people use AI voices for their own independent projects and stuff like that. I understand it's cheap. I understand it's easy. Well, I don't want to say cheap. It might be expensive. I don't know. But it's easier than finding an actor or having to pay an actor or whatever the case may be. Somebody somewhere would be thrilled to be in your project. It just takes, it might take a little more work, but I mean, I think giving actors the opportunity to act um and be a part of your project is something that people should really try to move forward doing. So AI, when it comes to voices, it's kind of a scary thing, and I don't really want to mess with it. And when it comes to technology and stuff like that, I know, and same thing with like AI generated like art.
Mm.
I don't think it's a very good thing. Like, again, this is one of those like hands-off processes. It's like I don't think it's good. Like
Right.
I think there are some use cases where we can have a very helpful tool, but in a lot of cases, and the cases you see on social media or the controversies, those aren't the cases that, are coming up. We're seeing people who are just stealing content, or using it to, or monetizing stolen content, or selling outright stolen content. There was
Right.
a like a Pokemon art contest that happened recently, and like some of the semifinalists, like a large number, were just like AI images, and there was just
Mm.
like no way to check, or
Yep.
they eventually found out after the fact. But like, you're taking away spots from like really talented artists who, tried their hardest to make a really cool piece. It's super not cool to do that kind of stuff. And
Right.
I don't know how we fix that kind of thing,
Yeah.
but it's scary sometimes.
We had
Yeah,
that.
I,
We talked about it just a few weeks ago with the whole
yeah,
Todd McFarlane controversy.
right.
Mm,
Earlier this year, he did a contest for somebody to draw the next cover for Spawn.
Spawn. Okay.
Um, and a lot of very talented artists like took the time and drew, and it was like a month-long contest, and you had to draw each week. There was a separate Spawn character that you had to draw. And some super talented artists like entered this contest and all that. And the guy who eventually won used completely AI generated art. And like I guess Todd uh may not have known when he chose the winner or whatnot, but it did come out after the fact that the guy who won, uh it was 100% AI generated. Nothing was from his own hand, like drawn, whether it be digitally or traditionally or whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, much like what you said, I don't think that that's A, it's not fair, B, it's not right.
Yeah.
Uh, because if you know what you're doing, you could just go and say, generate me a, you know, image of Vegeta doing XYZ, and there's an AI program out there that is going to do that. You've done nothing creatively, in my
Hmm.
opinion.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
No, definitely. Yeah, it's kind of sad when you think about that, because like it's the same thing with what you said. Not only is it not fair, but it's not right. Like, I think it says a lot about an individual when they say, "Nah, this is better than your hand-drawn thing, you know, and like I deserve that win or something like that. Like I don't
Yeah.
know, it's
Yeah.
kind of it's a weird hill to die on. So
Yeah, but then it's
it's
like you say you go to search for something, you go on the you go on the internet and you see this pretty awesome picture, like say like oh man, this is a wicked looking Spider-Man cover, man, that's awesome, and then you think, well, who's the artist that did this?
mhm.
Artists, I mean, you don't get I'm gonna drop some names. You don't get Brian Silverbacks, you don't get Jason Flowers, you don't get Alex Ogle, you don't get uh Deegan Puckard. You don't get those guys. You got like Cobra Dragon 619. I'm like, who the hell is Cobra Dragon 6? Click on it, and then it's just a whole bunch of
Yep,
AI generated images, and you're like, okay, it looks cool, but it's not genuine. It's not authentic. It's just random. It's just a random Spider-Man picture thrown together. So it's like, where's the talent? Where's the art?
for sure. Yeah,
Where is it?
definitely.
And
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't take it seriously. That's the way I feel
Yeah.
like with a lot of the voice. And we talked about this before with like different voices and stuff, because we live now in a crazy age where literally they could take your voice, my voice, anybody's voice, and make it say just horrible, horrendous things. And what can you do other than say, no, that's not me? Oh, dude, I can clearly hear that that's you. So then, like, how do you fight? Like what you were bringing up a minute ago with the legalities. How do we fight the legalities of this? You know
Yeah,
what I mean? It's a
yeah.
slippery, slippery slope. And I don't think anybody who's affected by it or could be possibly affected by it, they're not going to know what to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. And that's just me going on a rant here. And I do apologize for that. But yeah, I mean, it's now there are people who are, upper echelon, who know how to use it to their benefit without it hurting anybody. Like, shout out to Bob Carter. We've had him on the show about 3 weeks ago, and he utilizes a form of AI, but it's all contained within his own studio and stuff.
Right. Yep.
That's one thing.
Yeah.
But if some random guy on YouTube just gets an AI profile of somebody's voice and decides he wants to post incriminating things about this person, then we got to start talking about, okay, what's legal, what's illegal, what can you do, what can't you do? Can a person's, does a person have like legal rights to their own likeness and stuff like that? So it gets crazy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So we'll leave the heavy stuff for a minute,
Yes.
and let's come back to the fun stuff.
Yes.
At what point do you feel you kind of made your big break in the voice acting community?
Well, yeah. For me, a really big thing, I get I something that was like a big milestone for me was just getting a character or getting my role. I play a character named Manuel in My Hero Academia, and that was right. It was season 2, so it was right when the show came out, and I was like, "This is crazy that this thing is like blowing up right now, and I get to be a part of it." You know, he's a really small character, but like I was just so proud to be a part of it, I guess, and that was kind of one of the bigger early moments for me where I was just like, wow, that's so cool that I get to just be a part of this really, really, cool cast of characters and stuff like that. But yeah, I would say My Hero Academia was like one of the earliest moments where I was like, this is kind of cool, man. So um that and like I mean, I also like I remember when the show first came out, and I mean, I remember auditioning for some of the original characters in the show too, and even that was like blowing my mind. Like looking back, I was like, I was there when like I was like looking at the picture of like, oh, who am I gonna audition for? Like Deku or like Bakugo or like I don't know or whatever. Like it's just kind of crazy. It's been a crazy journey to be a part of because the manga is over and the show's ending, So like
Yeah.
yeah, so My Hero definitely has a special place for me and that character, Manuel. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wanted to be All
Was
Might, didn't you?
I did I wanted to be All Might.
Everybody wanted to be All Might.
Yeah.
now was Manuel, was that your first named character? Uh
Hmm. It might have been. Actually, no, it wasn't. there was a character in Fairy Tale. And so sometimes this works weird.
Hmm.
Where there's a character who is there, maybe he comes out for one episode, or he's really not important at all, but for some reason he has a name. There was a character in Fairy Tale, his name was Trom, and like I think I had like two lines. They were attacks. It was like Iron Spike or something like I really don't even remember. Uh and then like when it came out, it was like, oh, his name is Trom. And I was like, that's crazy. I didn't even know that. Like,
Yeah, right.
so yeah. Sometimes characters have names and either it's in the manga but not in the show, or it's in the show and not in the manga. Like things like that happen sometimes. But as far as like a character, yeah, that was one of them. And then there was a character called Daiichi, I believe was his name, and that was in a show called Cheer Boys. It was a sports
Hmm.
anime about cheerleading. And he was like one of the supporting characters. He was there throughout the whole show, and that was really cool too. So it was one of those two of being like the first like character, right? So
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's awesome.
I'm going through your IMDb right now. Just looking at some of the episodes that you've done. Gaijin number 8, which is currently on right now, an amazing show. I'm currently watching it at the moment. Sign of Affection, which is another one that you're on. You've already done 10 episodes of that. Metallic Rouge, which is a very interesting one. You were on Chainsaw Man. I'm just going. That's the first time I'm looking at all you. Attack on Titan. You did the Junju Ito collection. Yes, I'm a fan of Junju Ito, so I apologize. Um, Out of all the characters that you voiced, and I know it's like picking your favorite child, I guess, but what are some of your favorite characters that you voiced?
um so yeah, there's a couple, and they're all kind of special for their own different reasons,
Right.
but for me, so there's a character in this show called The Daily Life of the Immortal King, and I play a
Yes.
character named Wang Ling. And it's kind of hilarious because he's the main character of the show. Like he's the protagonist of the show. We're going on season 5 just got announced for that show. Like it is an ongoing thing.
Congrats.
Um, Thank you. And even though he's the main character, or like the main character of the show, I think he speaks the least out of everyone, and all of his lines are like sighs or like just kind of like disheveled kind of sounds and things like that. And every now and then he says something of substance, but that character has been wildly fun to play because um I mean, one, he's just very low key, but sometimes when I'm in the booth, and you might be able to tell, like once you get me kind of talking, or if we start chatting up or whatever, I kind of, I kind of get a little bubbly, I kind of light up and stuff like that. And so sometimes I'm like talking with the director, or we crack a joke or something like that, and then I'll do a line read, and he's like, "All right, we got to bring him, we got to bring him back down because like we were this kind of like, you know, uh, almost like emo kid status, and now all of a sudden we're like, pop radio or something. I don't know, but he's one that's really special to me. Also, he's my first lead, so that is he was a huge kind of stepping stone for me in my
Congratulations.
career.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank
Congrats.
you. And then I'll say two more just because I don't want to go too crazy on the. Well, I'll
Yeah.
say three. Well, no, I'll say two. Um, there's a character named Senior Pink, and he's a part of One Piece. And
Hmm.
he's kind of like this big baby man. But he's really cool too, just because I got to do like this cool accent for him, when I was playing him. I remember when I went in to record for him, Mike McFarlane was recording or he was directing, sorry, and he was like, have you ever seen like, or he's like, okay, here's this guy, we kind of want like like a George Clooney kind of sultry kind of guy, and we kind of want like a Antonio Banderas kind of guy, like this, say, a Puss in Boots kind of thing. And I was like, okay, cool. Like we can kind of try to do like a sultry whatever. And he was like, actually, do you watch King of the Hill? And I was like, I love King of the Hill. And he was like, there's this guy, he's like this priest that is on the television. And his like catchphrase for the show is Vaya con Dios. And he was like, that I want I want to do that. So this character, Senior Pink, is basically the embodiment of all these. Like we were just kind of like throwing out inspirations, but it always like that throwback of just being like that priest from King of the Hill made
Oh
him
my
like a really funny character to me.
Somebody
Um,
jump in and be like, "Damn it, Bobby!"
yeah. Um, yeah, I'd say
Excuse me.
that's a really fun one for me. And then the last one that has been really fun throughout the years is it's not even anime. It's for an animation group on YouTube called Flash Gits. And
Okay.
they've done several parodies of like Joe Rogan. And so I played Joe Rogan in their parodies, and then they eventually did a spin-off of Rick and Morty where it was Musk and Joey. So it was Elon Musk and Joey like universe hopping, doing really stupid things.
I
But
gotta look this up.
yeah, but Joey is basically Morty, so he's just kind of like he thinks he's big brain, but he's really, not. And Elon just kind of like bullies him the whole time. And so getting to do like a caricatured version of like Joe Rogan was like really fun, and they kept kind of like coming back and doing more and more. And so it's just a silly animation thing. And like that's one of those things too. I see this like South Park inspired thing in the background. I can't quite make out what it is, but like I
Oh,
love,
this. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I
My
love like shows like, that have that like absurd humor that, they just kind of
yeah.
go 0 to 100 kind of type shows and stuff.
Yeah.
So like yeah, they definitely follow that kind of um style of humor of just going like, to the wall with it. And
That
yeah.
Yeah, that's the way. I mean, that sounds like some of the like because I'm weird. I like watching Adult Swim. So some of my favorite shows to watch are like Robot Chicken and
Mm-hmm.
Aqua Teen Hunger Force and stuff like that. Like the stupidest stuff, like this
Yeah.
stuff that doesn't even make any sense. Is like, where do you think we get these TVs from? Who? Jesus? No, Santa Claus. It's the same thing. No, it's not. I'm Jewish. What? It makes no sense, but for some reason you find it funny.
Yeah, yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
and
Yeah.
and shout out to Eli and Jerry, our friends who live up in Northeast Tennessee. This is the band Gemini Syndrome. I don't know if you listen to metal or not, but
Yeah,
the
yeah.
band, yeah, the band Gemini Syndrome. They went and saw them, and they got this for me, and they got it. I got all the band members'
That's
signatures of it right
awesome.
here. So yeah, so that's my South Park inspired Gemini Syndrome poster.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. I
yes,
need to check out more of them. I'm actually a big metal guy, so
awesome,
yeah.
awesome. What specific genre, if you don't mind me asking?
I listen to a lot of them, but like most of the time, or the stuff I really got into when I got into metal was like metalcore, and then I went into kind of the deathcore, and then I went
Yes,
into the death metal, and then I went into like the
yes,
tech death metal, and then it went
yes,
into like, every little subgenre I've
yes,
kind of, gotten into. And
yes.
I still love like new metal. I still love like older metal, the
Yeah,
thrash and stuff. I like all kinds of metal.
yeah.
So
New metal like Corn, Limp Bizkit, Linkin
hmm
Park, Slipknot,
yep.
Disturbed. That got me into metal, and now most of what I listen to is like Slaughter to Prevail,
Mm.
Suicide Silence. I think Suicide Silence is one of my favorite bands. God rest Mitch
Yeah.
Lucker soul.
Yep. It was his birthday a few
Whitechapel.
days ago. Yeah,
Yeah,
It
Whitechapel,
man.
Phil
was.
Bozeman. Hmm.
Yep. Yeah, Oh, dude, Phil Bozeman's
Yeah,
amazing.
I like their
When
newer stuff. I'm a fan of the Valley and Kin. I
Oh, dude, the
mean,
Valley.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
they're doing good stuff with it for
yeah.
sure.
Black Bear was my favorite song off of the Valley.
Yeah,
So I just like that slow intro going into it, and then
yeah,
it punches you in the face, and I'm just like, that's my jam. That's my song right there,
yeah.
So well, it's so funny because when about 2 years ago or so, like I've said, after my mother had passed away, I had a lot of anger built up in me. So my wife decided, hey, let's go to Cleveland, Tennessee. We're gonna go to a rage room. I'm like, what the hell's a rage room? Basically, it's a place you go to, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can just take a baseball bat to and throw and just get all your anger out. I'm like, all right, that's cool. So we got there, we were getting there to do it. And she was like, okay, do you want any music played as you're destroying things? I'm like, oh, I got the perfect playlist for you. Here, have you ever heard of Job for a Cowboy? Put this song on. Oh, Thy Art is Murder? Yes, right here. Lorna Shore, not a fan of him just yet. Yes, Despised Icon. I will go with that.
Oh,
Thank you.
Despised Icon, one of my favorites. So
They're the gay. Here's the thing: so many people do not give them the credit because they were the pioneers of what
they're the godfathers of
deathcore.
deathcore.
Yes, them fit for an autopsy, and why am I blanking on the last one? It's like the big three of metalcore was
Yeah.
Despised Icon, fit for an autopsy, and I want to say creator, but they weren't
Mm,
necessarily there just yet because they were still doing death metal, but it wasn't leaning into like the metalcore type stuff. Yeah, but anyway, so
yeah,
you got
yeah.
me excited. It's been a long time. No, for real. Like I talk about this stuff all the time, and Chip's not a big fan of deathcore. You know, I think the hardest Chip listens to is like Beartooth, maybe.
Yeah.
Caleb Shomo, good vocalist. Yeah.
Yeah,
I like their first album the best, I think, but I mean they're solid, man. I
their new
like
stuff,
Beartooth a lot.
their new stuff is really good, really
I,
good. I
I,
Gotcha.
like
Yeah.
them.
yeah, I'm a huge fan of their most recent album, because I think it shows a lot of his vocal range because it's not the real guttural deep. It's more of a melodic, like slower, with some of the deeper guttural mixed in. I think it shows a lot of his vocal
Nice.
range.
I
Yeah,
need to give
Um,
that one a listen. I think that's I think I haven't heard the newest one yet. So
yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
I'm
but
actually I'm looking at my phone. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Chip, but I'm
I,
waiting. I got 10 more days before Oceana's new record, so I'm happy. You know?
yeah,
yeah.
Adam Warren, man, one of the
Yes,
another deathcore OG. Death's
yes,
was like a crazy album when it first came out, but
absolutely. Yeah, dude, I'm so ready for the new album to drop, dude. It's dropping in 10 days, and I'm excited.
and
So
I think it was cool that you said the thing about the Rage Room because like I said, I play some music. I play in a Slipknot tribute actually,
Oh,
and
oh,
nice.
nice.
I get to hit a keg with a baseball bat every, weekend. And
So you're
that
Sean Cronin, basically.
yeah, I am. We do the jump we're a 9 piece, we do jumpsuits, we do masks, and yeah, dude, let me tell you, hitting something with a bat it'll free some things in you, it
It
really
will. It
it really
will.
helps.
It will.
Okay,
So
so is it a custom mask or do you use one of the band's actual masks?
yeah. So I do well, so I actually some of them are replica.
Hmm.
Actually all of them are intended to be replicas. But most of them I make myself. I
Okay.
I'll either find somebody who has a 3D printer and get like a base or something to work off of, and then I'll do all of the painting and the designing all myself. The most recent one that I got was the OG West German clown, the classic
Oh yeah.
clown. And that
From
one
the original
I
Slipknot record.
yeah, that one
Yeah.
I went to like an actual, mask maker who he's known for making these replicas because the original mask is like from the 80s. They don't make them,
Yeah.
there's a lot of replicas, but the quality could be questionable.
Hmm.
Um, and owning them to like have them on my shelf is one thing, but I play in them, so like I need
Yeah.
them to be solid.
Yeah.
So like I just got one and the quality is insane. I'm so excited to like bust it out this weekend. So
That's awesome, man.
yeah.
So
Dude.
what's your favorite mask of all the masks if in the history of Slipknot? What's your favorite one?
There is a mask from the We Are Not Your Kind cycle. And I'm just speaking about Clown just because that's the
Oh,
ones that
okay.
I dabble in the
Yes.
most. But he had this one mask that was like shattered glass. It looked
Hmm.
like a
Mm,
disco ball kind of, effect.
Yeah.
yes.
And had this red nose and red lips. And I just think it looks so crazy. It's like
Yeah.
there's something about it. It's like it's not the scariest or anything like that, but it is like it's so stylish. It's sexy. I don't know. There's something about it where I'm just like, that's a cool mask,
Right.
the
I,
light
Yeah.
shining off it and all this
yeah.
stuff. But
I'm
yeah,
weird. Like I always thought that Sid's mask were always like Sid's mask from the Iowa record to me was just totally insane. I think Clown from the Iowa record
yeah,
when
that
it
one's
had the
crazy.
star put out. Yeah, that was real.
Yeah, with
And
the
of course, Mick
horns.
Mick Thompson's
Yeah,
same thing.
the
He
same for
it's
20 years or
the same for 20
whatever.
years. I think he polishes it with toothpaste every once in a while. And they're like, hey,
Yeah,
it's the
yeah,
new mask. Oh, and Jim
Yeah.
Root, his mask has changed subtly, but it still fits
yeah,
Jim Root and who he is. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
And Corey's is all over
Yeah.
the place.
I do really like I'm a big fan of Corey's from the All Hope Is Gone cycle. That the one with it was kind
Yes.
of like the eye and I
The
Yeah.
do like that
cutout.
one a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
the little
Yeah. The
cutout
all
top.
white, the all white mask. Is that the one you're
Yep.
talking about? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite Corey
Well,
mask.
so there was two different versions of that mask. There was the all white one that the top piece was not cut out.
Okay.
And then during the cycle of them recording, he started growing his hair out, and he kind of like faded the mask to where it wasn't all white. It was like whitewashed. And then he cut the top out to let his hair flow.
Yeah.
That's super
Uh,
cool. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, kind of similar
Uh,
to what he did in the Subliminal Verses record.
mhm.
You know, when he did that, which I wasn't a fan of the Subliminal Verses mask that they had, although I will say Joey Jordison's God Rest His Soul was I've always liked Jordan only because like I think I think Iowa's their best record, and I get shit for it, but that's the record that made me fall in love with Slipknot. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, you know, maybe I'm biased on that. But yeah, but like all of their mask was, you know, and of course, what's his name? The guy that does the samples and not the DJ, but the
Craig, the
Craig, yeah.
spikes.
It
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
has that's all he has. It's just
Hmm.
spikes. That's it, you know. Like some things it's like, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. And he's the one that never does media, never does
Yeah.
interviews. He just like, I'm just gonna
Just
hit
quiet.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the guy pressing the button and just
Uh,
banging my head the whole time.
Uh-huh.
have you had the opportunity to see Slipknot live?
So actually, no, I haven't.
Oh,
But they are playing in Dallas. I think it is September 15th. So like I have a ticket. Like I'm gonna go see them.
you have to.
It's gonna be Slipknot with Knocked Loose. So it's already a stacked
Oh,
lineup
Yeah.
here. And they're playing, it's their 25th anniversary. I know they're playing a lot of their old stuff, like the self-titled, right? And
yeah.
I just I like a lot of their stuff. I mean, I play a lot of their stuff. And I mean, I think it would just be so cool to like catch that little piece of history that was like the self-titled album cycle, right? Like,
Yeah.
because when that came out, man, I don't even it was 99, I think, when it came out. So I would have been 7 years old. There's
Oh
no way I would
wow.
have seen it,
Yeah.
like there's
Yeah.
no way.
And it
So
was and their first big event was Ozfest. So and they
yeah,
don't even do Ozfest anymore.
mm,
So
for
they need to
sure.
bring Ozfest back.
Yeah.
Bring back Ozfest, you know, especially with a lot of the newer now granted festivals and different ones like you got Carolina Rebellion, you know, and all these different other festivals and stuff like that. But it's like, no, there was just something special about Ozfest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
Kind of like with Woodstock.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but yeah, so I actually got to see Slipknot live once. It was them and Korn on tour together.
That's awesome.
Oh my
I
God.
haven't seen
Like,
Corn either, but I would love to, man. I would love to
uh,
see him.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was such an amazing just
Yeah.
to be in that moment.
Hmm.
But just to take it back to voicing for just a moment, we were talking about like vocal range and everything. And of your vocal range, what do you think is the hardest voice that you have done and sustained over a longer recording session?
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. I think for me, doing man, I think it's one of those things where when you try to push it either too high or when you try to push it too low,
Hmm.
eventually you're gonna see a little bit of wear, right? There was a character I did in One Piece whose name was Ikaros. He was like a squid man. And for him, I was just trying to do like a really deep voice kind of thing. And sometimes I'll put a little pressure on my neck to, kind of keep it a little lower or whatever. And that's all fine, you're like you're introducing yourself to the character or to the straw hats or whatever the case may be. But then like what happens when you have to do the big battle or you have to do the big attack or the things like that. And so you're kind of like, I mean, luckily I got through those sessions and stuff, but there have been times where you barely make it out, right? And then you have another session the next day, or maybe you have a 3 hour session in 2 days after that, or there are a lot of things that you kind of have to be aware of. Well, after doing it for so long, I definitely try to do like warm-ups and cool downs and stay so hydrated. And I have this little like vapor like mask that I wear to kind of like keep everything. Like I really try to take good care of that stuff because like a year or two ago, I actually hurt myself doing stuff. I got this like crazy pain in my neck and I had to go to like a doctor to put a tube down there and look at it and work with a vocal therapist because I was just overusing my voice so much
Oh
and
wow.
I didn't know how to you know, heal because of my career, I'm always talking. So when's the
Yeah.
time to rest, right? Um, but because of that, I think I learned a lot of good techniques, and I think I've become a more responsible, actor for that too, because I do love the loud stuff. I do love yelling. I do love screaming. I do backup vocals in my band and stuff like that. Like, I mean, it's all
Yeah.
just, sometimes I have to dial it back, right? But
Right.
stuff like that for sure. That was a challenge. And then a few seasons ago in a show called, I think it was called Black Summoner. Sorry if I can't remember. Some of
No,
these
no,
run
no, no. You're
together.
good.
It's all
Yeah.
good, bro.
I actually I played a character named Alex who was a wolf, who was an actual dog. And that was a challenge for me is because like, I mean, I have to bark and growl and talk to characters making these sounds and stuff. So that was another like fun. It was more of a fun challenge than kind of like a scary one or whatever. But like
Yeah.
anytime I get to do those like weird offhand characters or monsters or creatures or like whatever. Like I remember probably like 6 years ago, I played a piece of seaweed in a show called Dagashi Kashi. Like, it's just like whatever. It's just like whatever the weird thing is. I'm like, cool, I got to do that. I'll take it,
Right.
stuff like that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like when you're done and you're like, here's my resume. I was a dog. I was a seaweed. I was
Right.
I
Yeah,
was a
exactly.
twinkling star.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Do you know the definition of immortality? Well, who was
Uh,
who was you in that? I was a piece of grass. I don't know. They were
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah, he was in there. He was in there.
Why
yeah.
was he talking about immortality? I don't know. He watched Spawn. I don't know.
So, without breaking any NDAs, what's coming up for you? Uh, Convention, music, whatever. Like, what all do you have coming up that
Yeah,
you want to
definitely.
promo?
So I do have something where I'm in the works of doing a voiceover for an independent animator who he's
Hmm.
got a really big following online. It's not the person necessarily. I mean, we've been good friends, but like the animatics or the storyboards that he's shown me for this, I'm like just excited to be a part of it. So um I'm gonna be definitely ecstatic to like share it when it finally comes out. But this cool indie animation thing, um is going to be in the works pretty soon. And I have a big heart for indie animation. I love doing that stuff like almost equally, or if not more than like anime stuff. I love indie
Right.
animation. So that's coming up. And then, yeah, just doing shows around the state, out of state type stuff. We got Austin, Texas this weekend, Dallas, Texas this weekend, and San Antonio and Lubbock next weekend. Then we got like Little Rock in a few weeks and stuff like that. So just music stuff. And yeah, other than that, I got to do a supporting role in a show called Too Many Losing Heroines. Check that out. It's hilarious. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, just stuff like that. But just always just trying to keep working, keeping myself busy and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So
Awesome.
So
Go ahead, Tal.
I was going to ask him if anybody wanted to follow you on social media, where can they go to look for you?
for sure. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm gonna call it Twitter.
Yeah.
Twitter .com. My handle is Ethan Gallardo VO. Just it's my name and VO. I'm there. So follow me, talk with me. I'm a pretty chill guy. So
Awesome.
yeah, that's where you can find me for sure. Or
Awesome.
yeah. Actually just there. I don't want to give out everything else. Give
Yeah.
out my phone
Yeah.
number
Yeah.
and my yeah.
Understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Absolutely.
we'll have people calling you left and
Yeah,
right.
right. Yeah.
We'll
Like
put it
people
we'll,
will
we'll put it on a billboard outside of the
yeah,
mall or
like
something. People
a
just
bat signal, but
Yeah.
my phone number. Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so Ethan, we were once told that the greatest gift that you can share with another person is your time, and we greatly appreciate you sharing your time with us this evening.
Of course. It's been a pleasure, man. I had a lot of fun just chatting it up.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. If you want to hang out with us for just 1 second, while we finish out this finish out this outro. I'm sorry. I'm trying a new thing. I'm sorry. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into tonight's show. We hope you guys enjoy this. Ethan, we appreciate you being here, and we thank you guys for watching. Chip, anything you want to say before we get out of here tonight?
As always, please do not leave without leaving a like, comment, share, and subscribe on Spotify and right here on YouTube.
Thank you guys so much for all the love and support you guys have been giving us. And if you want to continue to support Movement Radio, make sure you check out streamlabs.com/Movement Radio/merch and go copy some merch. Once again, Ethan, thank you for joining us. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. I'm Talon Williams.
I'm Chip Hazard. He is Ethan Gallardo, and we are Movement Radio.
That's what